On a quiet Friday morning in September of 1994, the sounds of children at play filled the air around Ariel School in Ruwa, Zimbabwe. It was a typical school day, warm and bright, as students spilled onto the grounds for their morning break. But what began as an ordinary recess would soon transform into an event so extraordinary, so baffling, that it would challenge the very boundaries of human understanding. Over 60 children, innocent and unburdened by the complexities of the adult world, would become unwilling witnesses to something that defied all explanation, a silent descent from the skies, and an encounter that would forever alter their perception of reality. This video delves into one of the most perplexing mass UFO sightings in modern history, examining the children's consistent accounts, the rigorous investigations that followed, and the lingering questions that continue to haunt those who were there. The specific date was September 16, 1994. Ariel School, a private primary institution nestled outside the bustling capital of Harare, found its students enjoying their mid-morning reprieve. The school grounds, with their sprawling open fields bordering a dense wooded area, offered ample space for childhood games and unrestrained energy. It was precisely in this expansive field, near the mysterious edge of the tree line, that the first ripples of the extraordinary began to manifest. Around 10 o'clock in the morning, the children's playful shouts were momentarily interrupted by something unexpected in the sky. Multiple students reported seeing bright, shimmering flashes of light, almost like distant fireworks or sudden reflections off an unseen surface. These initial flashes were not isolated. They occurred repeatedly, drawing the attention of many of the children, who instinctively looked upwards. What followed those flashes was even more startling: the appearance of objects in the clear Zimbabwean sky. Descriptions of these aerial phenomena, though varying in minor details, carried a chilling consistency across the multitude of young witnesses. Many spoke of a large, metallic, disc-shaped object, defying any known conventional aircraft design. Others mentioned multiple, smaller, silently moving lights or craft. The objects were not only unusual in form, but in their behavior. They reportedly hovered motionless for moments, then executed erratic, almost impossible maneuvers before, according to a significant number of witnesses, slowly descending. Their trajectory led them directly towards the ground or to a very low hover near the dense cluster of trees adjacent to the school property. The silence of their approach was particularly unsettling, a stark contrast to the familiar roar of aeroplanes. The immediate reaction among the children was a kaleidoscope of primal emotions. The youngest students, particularly those in the lower grade, were seized by a profound fear. Some instinctively turned and ran, scrambling back towards the perceived safety of the school buildings. Older students, though also bewildered, exhibited a mix of apprehension and an undeniable surge of curiosity. It's important to note that during this initial phase, no adult members of the school staff publicly reported witnessing these aerial phenomena, as they were likely inside the school buildings or in other parts of the grounds, unaware of the silent drama unfolding at the far edge of the property. Their attention would only be drawn when the children rushed back in, visibly agitated. With the mysterious craft now either landed or hovering just above the ground near the tree line, the event escalated from a baffling aerial display to something far more personal and unnerving. From within or from beside the silent object, figures began to emerge. These were not human. The children's descriptions of these beings, gathered independently and hours later, formed a chillingly similar portrait. Their bodies were described as slender, almost frail, but what stood out most was their heads, disproportionately large, starkly out of place on such delicate frames. It was their eyes that left the most profound impression. Nearly every child recounted seeing eyes that were unusually large, dark, and often described as almond-shaped, completely black and devoid of any discernible whites or pupils. These eyes, they claimed, conveyed a profound depth and intelligence and an unsettling stillness. Their attire, if it could even be called that, was consistently depicted as nondescript. Many children reported seeing a single, form-fitting garment, often dark or seamless, giving the impression that the clothing was part of their very being. There were no visible zippers, buttons, or seams, only smooth, unblemished surfaces. The interaction, as recounted by the young witnesses, was not one of verbal exchange. Instead, many children claimed to have received direct, non-verbal communications from these beings, a form of telepathy, where thoughts and images were directly transferred into their minds. The content of these alleged messages proved to be one of the most compelling and consistent elements of the entire incident. They spoke of an urgent environmental concern, a dire warning about humanity's destructive trajectory concerning Earth's precious natural resources and its delicate ecosystem. The beings the children reported conveyed a plea for humanity to fundamentally alter its ways. Some children recalled being shown vivid mental pictures, horrifying visions of environmental degradation. They described mental images, forests stripped bare, waters dark with pollution, visions that felt as real as anything they had seen with their own eyes. Others reported experiencing a profound feeling of sadness or an overwhelming sense of urgency, communicated directly by the beings, regarding these very issues. Emily, a young girl whose account would become central to the investigation, spoke with remarkable clarity about her interaction. She vividly recalled the being showing her a mental image of all the trees dying and all the water being polluted. Her small voice conveyed a genuine distress when recounting these visions. Francis, another student, expressed a similar sentiment, describing the telepathic message as a direct warning. "We are messing up the earth," he elaborated, saying the feeling conveyed was one of deep disappointment and concern. The duration of this astonishing encounter varied in the children's individual recollections, ranging from several minutes to perhaps as long as 20. After this period, the beings reportedly retreated, re-entering their silent craft. The object then ascended with the same chilling silence and incredible speed with which it had arrived, vanishing from view as quickly as it had appeared. The children stood frozen. Then they ran back toward the school, their faces etched with terror, awe, and something else, a profound, newfound understanding. But the mystery was only just beginning. What the children described next would challenge even the most skeptical minds. The immediate aftermath within Ariel School was a scene of controlled chaos. Scores of children, visibly distressed, agitated, and overflowing with unbelievable stories, burst back into the classrooms and common areas. They clamored to convey their extraordinary experiences to their teachers, their voices overlapping in a cacophony of descriptions of flying objects and strange figures. The initial reaction from the school staff was understandably one of profound skepticism, perhaps even a degree of dismissive amusement. It was initially and perhaps instinctively dismissed as a collective fantasy, a shared delusion fueled by the vivid imaginations of children at play. However, the sheer volume of children involved, over 60 unique voices, coupled with the undeniable consistency of their detailed accounts and their palpable, genuine distress, quickly made it apparent that something truly unusual had transpired. The first significant external involvement came later that same day. Cynthia Hind, a highly respected Zimbabwean UFO researcher and journalist, was contacted about the strange reports. Hind was known throughout the region for her meticulous and sober approach to investigating anomalous aerial phenomena. She immediately recognized the potential gravity of a mass sighting involving so many young witnesses. Driven by a commitment to thorough investigation, she traveled to Ariel School the very next day, September 17th, to begin her detailed inquiry. Hind's initial investigative approach was critical in preserving the integrity of the children's testimonies. She understood the importance of preventing contamination of their accounts. She began by interviewing the children individually, isolating them from their peers to ensure their recollections were independent. During these interviews, she provided them with drawing materials and asked them to illustrate exactly what they had seen. This method, frequently employed in child psychology, is invaluable for allowing children to articulate complex or traumatic experiences that they might struggle to express verbally. It also provided a tangible, non-verbal record of their perceptions. The resulting drawings, produced independently by children of varying ages and backgrounds, were remarkably consistent. They depicted clear, disc-shaped objects, often with small lights or windows, and small, humanoid figures with characteristically large heads and those striking, dark, almond-shaped eyes. This high degree of consistency across dozens of independent artistic renderings significantly challenged any notion of a simple fabrication or a fleeting shared illusion. Cynthia Hind also made diligent efforts to interview the school staff and any other adults who might have observed anything unusual, either before, during, or after the incident. Their observations, however, were limited to the children's agitated state, their consistent reports, and the palpable atmosphere of excitement and fear that permeated the school grounds after the event. Crucially, no adults confirmed witnessing the initial aerial phenomena or the emergence of the beings themselves. This absence of adult corroboration would later become a focal point for skeptical arguments. The Ariel School incident rapidly garnered international attention, primarily due to Hind's persistent efforts to publicize the case through her networks and publications. It was through this widespread reporting that the most significant external development occurred, the involvement of Dr. John Mack. A Pulitzer Prize-winning Harvard University psychiatrist and professor, Dr. Mack was renowned for his pioneering, albeit controversial, research into alien abduction phenomena. He approached such cases not as a ufologist seeking definitive proof of extraterrestrials, but as a clinical psychiatrist deeply interested in the psychological validity of individuals who reported close encounters with non-human intelligences. His work focused on the experiential reality of the individuals, emphasizing the profound impact these alleged encounters had on their psyches rather than immediately dismissing them as delusions or mental illness. Dr. John Mack's arrival in Ruwa in November of 1994, approximately 2 months after the incident, marked a pivotal moment in the Ariel School investigation. Accompanied by a film crew and a research assistant, his objective was to conduct rigorous, in-depth clinical interviews with the children. He brought with him his extensive expertise in psychiatric assessment, aiming to discern the psychological state of the children and, perhaps more importantly, the veracity of their deeply held claims. Dr. Mack's methodology for interviewing children who reported anomalous experiences was meticulously designed to be non-leading and profoundly empathetic. He understood that children are susceptible to suggestion, but also that genuine trauma or profound experiences can manifest in complex ways. His primary goal was to create a safe, non-judgmental environment where the children felt completely at ease sharing their extraordinary recollections, free from any fear of ridicule, disbelief, or the subconscious desire to please an adult. To achieve this, Dr. Mack insisted on interviewing each child one by one in complete separation from their peers, parents, and teachers. This isolation was a paramount step in minimizing any potential for social contamination, groupthink, or parental influence, ensuring each testimony was an independent recollection. Critically, Dr. Mack avoided any form of leading questions. Instead of framing questions that might suggest specific details, he employed broad, open-ended inquiries. For example, he would not ask, "Did the alien have big black eyes?" Rather, he would ask, "Can you describe what the being looked like, or tell me everything you remember about what happened?" This technique allowed the children to narrate their experiences entirely in their own words, unfiltered by adult presumptions. As an experienced psychiatrist, Dr. Mack paid acute attention to the children's non-verbal communication and emotional affect. He observed their body language, their eye contact, the tone and cadence of their voices, and, most tellingly, their emotional state. He noted that many children became visibly emotional, some tearful, others profoundly serious, some trembling when recounting their experiences. He described their collective affect as sobering and distressed rather than excitable or playful, which would be more indicative of a shared prank or fantasy. This genuine emotional response was a significant indicator to him that the children were recounting something deeply felt and profoundly real to them. Building upon Cynthia Hines' initial approach, Dr. Mack also utilized drawing as a vital tool. He found it to be an invaluable way for children to express complex visual information that they might lack the vocabulary to articulate verbally. He meticulously analyzed the consistency and spontaneous commonalities in these independently produced drawings. Dr. Mack's ultimate objective was not to provide definitive scientific proof of alien presence. Instead, his core approach was to assess the experiential reality for the individuals. He sought to understand if the children genuinely believed they had this experience, how it impacted them psychologically, and whether their accounts bore the hallmarks of genuine, albeit anomalous, memory. He consistently maintained that, based on his rigorous clinical assessment, he found no evidence of psychosis, shared delusion, or conscious fabrication among the children. Dr. Mack's conclusions were profound and controversial. He stated unequivocally that, from a psychiatric standpoint, he could not dismiss the children's accounts as hallucination or delusion. He described them as coherent, articulate, and genuinely distressed by their experience. He was particularly struck by the remarkable consistency in their narratives, especially regarding the physical appearance of the beings, their silent communication, and the environmental warning they claimed to have received. For Dr. Mack, the emotional impact of the event on the children was a critical piece of evidence. Many were visibly shaken, some reportedly experienced nightmares in the weeks following the event, while others spoke of a fundamental, almost spiritual shift in their worldview. His professional opinion, coming from a distinguished Harvard professor, lent immense weight to the Ariel School incident, elevating it from a local curiosity to a case of serious academic interest within the burgeoning field of anomalous phenomena. The BBC also dispatched a video crew to film the children and the school, further catapulting the incident onto the international stage. Their independent interviews largely mirrored the consistency and palpable sincerity observed by both Cynthia Hines and Dr. Mack, reinforcing the perplexing nature of the collective testimony. Yet the question of what truly transpired lingered. The Ariel School incident is replete with elements that defy conventional explanation, pushing the boundaries of what is considered possible. These strange, bizarre, and profoundly unusual aspects are what solidify its place as one of the most intriguing cases in the annals of unexplained phenomena. Firstly, the sheer number of witnesses is an almost unparalleled anomaly. 62 children, ranging in age from 6 to 12 years old, independently reported a remarkably similar series of events. While psychological phenomena like mass hysteria or shared fantasy can account for some group experiences, the level of detail, specificity, and consistency across such a large and diverse group of young, impressionable minds makes a simple psychological explanation highly challenging. Secondly, the nature of the communication itself, telepathy, stands as a key anomalous feature. If the children's accounts are taken at face value, it implies a form of communication that entirely bypasses conventional human sensory perception. There were no spoken words, no discernible language, yet a complex message was reportedly conveyed and understood. This challenges our fundamental understanding of communication and consciousness. Thirdly, the consistent physical characteristics of the beings are deeply unusual, yet curiously familiar within ufological lore. Descriptions of small humanoid figures with large heads, slender bodies, and those striking, large, dark eyes align almost perfectly with the archetype of the grey alien, which had gained prominence in Western popular culture in the preceding decades. Skeptics might argue this consistency points to cultural contamination, that the children perhaps unconsciously drew upon existing alien imagery from movies or television. However, proponents counter that the rural setting of Ruwa in the 1990s meant significantly less exposure to such media compared to Western children, thereby strengthening the argument for the originality and spontaneous commonality of their descriptions. Could it be that the archetype itself is rooted in genuine observation? The question lingers. Fourthly, the perplexing absence of adult witnesses to the core events remains a significant point of contention. While many teachers and staff members were present on the school grounds, none reported seeing the craft land or the beings emerge and interact with the children. They only observed the children's agitated state and heard their incredible stories afterward. For skeptics, this absence is a critical void in the evidence, as it shifts the entire phenomenon into the realm of subjective experience rather than objective, verifiable observation. For believers, it raises questions about selective perception or the deliberate nature of the encounter, perhaps intended specifically for the children. Fifthly, and perhaps most profoundly, is the psychological impact on the children themselves. Dr. Mack's clinical observations, made months after the event, revealed genuine emotional distress, a sense of profound change, and persistently vivid memories that endured even years later. Children who fabricate stories for attention or amusement typically do not exhibit such deep, lasting psychological responses, often marked by a sober conviction and an almost burdened sense of knowing. The sincerity of their belief in what they saw, irrespective of its objective reality, became undeniable to those who interviewed them closely. This was not a playground prank that faded with the recess bell. It was an experience that settled deep within their consciousness. The Ariel School incident, precisely because of its extraordinary nature, has been rigorously scrutinized by skeptics and those seeking conventional explanations. These counter-arguments, while not necessarily disproving the children's accounts, offer alternative frameworks for understanding the phenomenon without resorting to a non-human intelligence. One of the primary skeptical lines of reasoning centers on the misidentification of known objects or phenomena. It's proposed that the initial flashes of light could have been a meteor breaking up in the atmosphere, creating bright streaks. While this might account for the initial visual stimulus, it struggles to explain the subsequent appearance of a distinct, disc-shaped craft, or the humanoid figures. Alternatively, the object itself could have been a misidentified conventional aircraft, perhaps a small plane, a weather balloon, or even an early experimental drone. However, the consistent descriptions of silent movement, erratic maneuvers, and a non-aerodynamic shape challenge these explanations. Some even suggest unique atmospheric phenomena or optical illusions where light reflections or unusual cloud formations could be misinterpreted, especially by young observers. Another significant skeptical explanation revolves around psychological phenomena, specifically mass hysteria or collective suggestion. This theory posits that one or two highly imaginative or mischievous children might have initiated a story, perhaps based on a misinterpretation of an entirely mundane event. This initial narrative could then have rapidly spread through the group through peer influence and suggestion. In a heightened emotional state and within a social context like a school playground, children are particularly susceptible to internalizing a shared story, making it feel genuinely real to each individual, even if it has no objective basis. The remarkable consistency in their drawings and verbal accounts from this perspective could be attributed to their rapid dissemination and reinforcement of the core narrative among the group. However, Dr. Mack's meticulous approach, which involved interviewing children individually and without leading questions, aimed to mitigate this very risk, and he ultimately concluded that the consistency seemed to stem from genuine, independent recall rather than suggestion. Furthermore, skeptics often raise the issue of cultural influence, even if subtle. While the rural Zimbabwean context might have limited direct exposure to Western UFO media, it's argued that the basic archetype of alien beings, the grey with large heads and eyes, has become pervasive enough globally to influence subconscious perceptions. If children encountered something genuinely unusual but unidentifiable, their minds might unconsciously draw upon these pre-existing cultural templates to fill in the blanks, leading to similar descriptions. The environmental message, while striking, could also be seen as a reflection of growing global anxieties about climate change and deforestation, themes that were increasingly discussed in schools and within communities worldwide during the 1990s. From this perspective, the message might be a projection of human fears and concerns onto an unknown event, rather than an extraterrestrial warning. Finally, the absence of independent adult corroboration for the core event remains a crucial point for skeptics. While the children were genuinely agitated and consistent in their reports, no teachers or other adults witnessed the craft land or the beings interact. This lack of objective adult testimony means that the incident, for all its intrigue, remains confined to the subjective experiences of a group of children, making it exceptionally difficult to verify through conventional scientific methods. For those who demand empirical evidence, this absence represents a significant barrier to accepting the event as an actual physical encounter. One of the most persistent and distinctively strange elements of the Ariel School incident is the specific environmental message reportedly conveyed by the beings. This sets the case apart from many other UFO encounters, which often focus on technological displays, abductions, or simple observation. Here, the alleged telepathic communication had a clear, didactic, and intensely urgent warning about humanity's impact on the Earth. The consistency of this particular communication across so many individual child accounts is an anomaly that continues to perplex investigators. The children described vivid mental images: forests stripped bare, the land barren and lifeless, rivers and lakes choked with filth, the water dark and poisoned. They felt the earth was dying, spoiled beyond recognition. And underlying it all was an unmistakable sense of warning, a plea, a desperate call for change. And the interpretations of this environmental message are as varied as the perspectives on the incident itself. For those who lean towards the literal interpretation and believe in the extraterrestrial nature of the encounter, the environmental message is taken at face value. It is viewed as a direct, urgent warning from an advanced, non-human intelligence deeply concerned about the ecological state of Earth. This perspective often suggests that these beings are not merely passive observers but active stewards or guardians, intervening to warn humanity at a critical juncture in its relationship with the planet. The message in this view serves as powerful evidence of their benevolence or a universal concern for planetary well-being. It is seen as a purposeful communication, a cosmic plea for responsible guardianship. From a skeptical psychological projection viewpoint, the environmental message can be interpreted as a reflection of the children's own subconscious anxieties or information they had already absorbed about environmental issues. In the mid-1990s, global awareness of environmental degradation, deforestation, pollution, climate change was rapidly increasing, and these topics were frequently discussed in schools, on television, and within families. It is argued that the children, having been exposed to these ideas, integrated them into their perceived encounter. If they experienced an unusual stimulus and sought to make sense of it, their minds might have unconsciously latched on to familiar environmental concerns as a coherent, meaningful narrative, attributing them to the aliens. In this scenario, the message would be a powerful reflection of human consciousness and collective concerns, rather than an external extraterrestrial communication. A more alternative, speculative interpretation suggests that if the beings were not aliens in the conventional sense of physical beings from another star system, they might be entities from another dimension, or a manifestation of a deeper collective consciousness. In this view, the environmental message could be a reflection of a universal energetic or informational field that conveys critical data about planetary well-being. It would still be a communication from a non-human intelligence, but perhaps one that operates outside our current understanding of physical space and time. Regardless of its precise origin or interpretation, the consistency of this environmental warning stands as one of the most distinctive and thought-provoking aspects of the Ariel School incident. It elevates the case beyond a mere sighting of a strange craft to a narrative imbued with significant moral, philosophical, and even spiritual implications. The Ariel School incident was not merely a fleeting curiosity for the children involved. For many, it became a foundational, life-altering experience. The long-term impact on the witnesses is profound and multifaceted, extending decades beyond that fateful September morning. Perhaps the most striking long-term effect is the unwavering conviction held by many of the witnesses. Despite the passage of decades, the relentless challenges of skepticism, and the natural maturation process that often leads individuals to re-evaluate childhood memories, a significant number of the former Ariel School students maintain that they genuinely saw what they reported. This steadfast belief for them is not a matter of faith but of direct memory, an undeniable event they personally experienced. When re-interviewed as adults, their voices still carry the echoes of that day, often recounting details with a surprising level of consistency and emotional clarity. For many, the incident left a lingering psychological and emotional resonance. While Dr. Mack found no evidence of severe psychopathology, the emotional impact was undeniable. Some reported recurring dreams, intrusive thoughts, or a persistent sense of unease, particularly in the initial years after the event. Others spoke of a profound feeling of being different, or having been privy to a secret, unsettling knowledge that the rest of the world either dismissed or refused to acknowledge. This sense of being an experiencer often led to feelings of isolation. A common thread among the adult witnesses is a profound shift in their worldview. Many now hold a strong, undeniable conviction that extraterrestrial life exists and has in some form interacted with Earth. This paradigm shift often extended to a heightened awareness of environmental issues, directly echoing the telepathic warning. They began to view the world through a new lens, acutely aware of human impact on the planet, often with a sense of urgency. The experience fundamentally altered their perceptions of reality, leaving them with an undeniable sense that they had encountered something truly extraordinary and beyond human comprehension. However, not all aspects of this long-term impact were positive. Some witnesses faced significant social and personal challenges. Being labeled as the kids who saw aliens could lead to ridicule from peers, skepticism from family members, and even professional difficulties. For some, it created a profound sense of isolation, as their experience was so far outside the accepted norms of society. This pressure could, in some cases, initially lead individuals to retract or downplay their stories, only to bravely reaffirm them years or even decades later as adults. The need for truth often outweighed the fear of judgment. For a subset of the witnesses, the incident instilled a deep sense of purpose and activism. The environmental message in particular resonated profoundly, prompting some to pursue careers or engage in activities related to environmental protection, conservation, or social justice. They felt a genuine moral imperative to act on the warning they believed they received, seeing themselves as messengers entrusted with a vital truth. Ultimately, many of the witnesses continued to seek understanding and resolution. They participate in videos and interviews not for fame or personal gain, but in hopes that by sharing their story they might contribute to a broader comprehension of what transpired, or to encourage a more open and serious societal discussion about anomalous phenomena. The unresolved nature of the event for them can be a lifelong quest for meaning and validation. The Ariel School UFO incident remains an open case, lacking a definitive, universally accepted explanation. It stands as a powerful testament to the enduring mystery of unidentified aerial phenomena and the profound challenges of investigating events that defy conventional understanding. The case prompts fundamental questions. What did these children truly see? Was it an extraterrestrial encounter, a unique and complex psychological phenomenon, or an intricate combination of misinterpretations and cultural influences? The enduring strength of the case lies in the unwavering consistency and sheer number of child witnesses, their apparent sincerity, and the professional empathetic assessment conducted by Dr. John Mack. The prevailing weaknesses remain the absolute lack of independent adult corroboration for the initial sighting, and the inherent difficulty in proving or disproving subjective experiences like telepathic communication. The Ariel School UFO incident endures as a powerful enigma, a complex tapestry woven from child testimonies, meticulous investigation, pervasive cultural context, and an impenetrable veil of mystery. It serves as a compelling reminder of the inherent limitations of our current understanding and the vast, unexplained phenomena that continue to intrigue and challenge humanity. Was it a genuine close encounter with an intelligence beyond our comprehension, a profound and unique psychological event affecting a collective of young minds, or perhaps a curious and intricate intersection of both? The question lingers, echoing through the decades. What truly happened on that bright September morning in Zimbabwe, and what does it mean for our place in the universe? The children of Ariel School bore witness to something extraordinary, and their story compels us to look beyond the ordinary, to consider the possibility that the boundaries of our reality may be far more expansive than we dare to imagine. If you found yourself captivated by the strange details of this video, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel for more explorations into the unexplained. Your support helps us uncover these fascinating stories. And what are your theories on the Ariel School incident? Do you believe the children encountered beings from another world, or do you have a different explanation? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. We'd love to read them. Thank you for watching. Stay curious.